the AI Kubernetes Show.
Hello, and welcome back to the AI Kubernetes Show. I am your host, William Chia, and we are here live from the Expo Show floor at KubeCon in Atlanta to talk about how the wave of AI that is changing the world is impacting platform engineering and software development in general. Today on the show with me is Dinesh Majrekar, who is the CTO of Civo. Dinesh, welcome to the show.
Great to be here. It's great to be at KubeCon as well. It's nice to be back.
I have really enjoyed being here at the show as well. What do you think brings you back to KubeCon?
It's conversations like this, really. We're in a tech bubble and you don't get to talk to people a lot, but then coming to KubeCon, meeting up with old friends and actually spending time together is what really brings KubeCon what KubeCon is. It's the hallway track.
The hallway track. We talk a lot about this in my org, and these is a different kind of bubble, right? So one kind of bubble we could say is this AI bubble looming of sorts, and then the bubble of being in your own organization and not getting out. I'm curious, talking more about maybe the AI bubble. What's your take on the hype versus the reality where this is going?
That's a great question. I think there's a lot at the moment about, is there a bubble or is it just innovation and everything happening? But I don't know. My personal opinion is that there is some sort of bubble here, but it could just be innovation that's rolling, and it's going to be the start of a new wave of everything.
Only time will tell. Those who live by the crystal ball eat glass, as they say.
I think it's, we were just talking with some of the people yesterday about, this is very, very similar to IBM and mainframes, because if you think back, they had this almost monopoly when mainframes came out on the hardware, and you had to go to IBM to get the hardware. IBM then built a whole set of tools around that as well to make sure it was really, really easy to use your mainframes. They developed a language called COBOL. And now we have CUDA on the NVIDIA side. It took 10 years for IBM to go from that solo enterprise that was able to deliver capabilities to then the desktop computer coming around and democratizing that early level of compute. And there are a lot of similarities you can draw between NVIDIA and what they're doing and old mainframes.
I really love this insight. Technology does seem to go in cycles. We're the old is new, new is old. That's been a theme on the show we have heard repeatedly. I'm kind of curious, as a leader of an organization, you have a unique challenge as an engineering leader that you have customers who are trying to adopt AI and trying to adopt your AI tools. You also are leading an organization of engineers and you're trying to coach them on how to adopt AI and deal with this. How do you balance that as a CTO, the coaching to your organization versus the coaching to your customers?
I think there's only one real answer here, and it's making sure that you have the same message inside the organization and outside. So you have that easy message that you're delivering. You've got lessons that you're learning with both customers you can apply internally, and also internal lessons you can give out to your customers.
So I love the simplicity of this. That's, again, one message. The message that's good for my team is the message that's good for my customers. That is very powerful in terms of simplicity. I'm curious, is there an example of a specific message you're coaching that you've shared with your team and then you've seen this also be effective for your customers?
At the moment, the biggest message is around security. So you think back to the start of AI and ChatGPT launched. All of those initial accounts had all of their details leaked, and all of those initial conversations are out there on the internet. So you're there as an early adopter, you're there, I think it was Christmas last year, the year before, the real hype of ChatGPT started. Hope you weren't asking any compromising questions to the bot around then, because maybe I will have a quick search of what you were doing at the time. But that message is what we're telling our customers and internally, of still be really careful about what data you're sharing with these third-party services.
One of the bits of advice that I offer sometimes is when you want the LLMs, as they call it these days, GEO, is a generative AI engine optimization rather than SEO for search engine optimization. And yeah, go ahead and do the search queries and add the info you want to show up. That's one bit of advice. But if you're trying to not get either your personal credentials leaked, your customer data, you need to be careful about what you put where. How are you managing that for your team? Where do you set the boundaries? Is it sets of tooling? Is it sets of process? How are you managing this, choice of what data we put where?
So for us at Civo, we are building the capabilities that allow us to do this privately internally. So for us, I feel like we've got a very privileged answer to that.
You're dog fooding your own solution.
We're dog fooding our own solution. So that security message and where your data lives is so important, and that's why we're building around that answer.
Is there a for instance of, on our platform we have this capability, and then it's intended to provide security for AI to our users and customers, but we use it internally, we dog food this feature?
Yeah, so we have an OpenAI-compatible endpoint. So we can just plug all of these tools that are coming in into our own internal LLM running on our own GPUs. And then we're making sure that that's performant for when we go out and offer it to the market as well. We're then seeing a lot of security-focused companies saying, hey, I've got a load of hospital personal information that's going, medical records. How do we keep those secure? Have a GPU in the basement of the hospital. It's never leaving that facility.
This is so you are actually coaching even like a healthcare organization. Go ahead and grab your own GPU, run your own model.
Yeah.
This is fascinating. And the model that you're running models, you're additionally using foundation models from, ChatGPT, Gemini, but you have a data science team, you're training your own models?
So we're not training our own models.
Okay, only for inference.
Yeah, it's only for inference. Over the last year, we've seen a flatlining capabilities of all of these open source models that have really caught up with the proprietary models that are out there. So whether you take a ChatGPT or an Anthropic or even the GPT OSS models, you're getting a really, really similar inference response from all of them.
That is really fascinating. Are there particular open source models that your org is using or that you're experimenting with? Any of those particular ones come to mind?
I think there's been a recent amount of hype of the Kimi K2 model reasoning that was launched only this weekend. And the benchmarks of that are proving that they're beating the latest Anthropic models and OpenAI models. This is a model that has been trained for less money on fewer GPUs, theoretically using fewer resources. And it's, we were talking about the bubble. These are the threats to that bubble that, if they materialize, could fundamentally change how the OpenAI, the LLM AI landscape looks.
And that you can run and manage yourself. And there's a certain level of operational concerns with, certainly you need certain types of hardware. How are you enabling customers to do that? Like, here you go run your own GPU, run your own inference models. Doesn't sound too simple, but how does it work?
I think we're taking our operational expertise on running a public cloud, running these services at scale, but then allowing our customers to run that at a really, really small level and offloading the management to us.
So there's a component of your platform that you offer public cloud services, but this is like a prem version of that instance. So then you're providing it as a managed service.
Absolutely. So we are providing customers the hardware, the GPUs, the software stack to not only launch these LLMs, but also compute instances as well, Kubernetes clusters on a truly on-prem public cloud.
In the world of AI, we go back to the server in the basement.
It's the only way to guarantee that data is never leaving your building.
I love so much about that. I'm curious, and I imagine as an engineering leader, maybe you don't code as much these days or get to as much as you want. But what does your own personal, AI tooling stack look like? What do you use most often? What helps you out in your workflows?
For me, it's a lot of experimentation. So all of the tools that are out there. So, we use Claude Code, we use Codex, we use Code, and it's trying to find that best tool for the job and then advising people at that time.
What's the current front runner there out of those code gen? You mentioned several code gen tools. What's the front runner for you today?
To be honest, it's changing. I can't give an answer today because we're using so many different things. And this Kimi K2 model now, if you're using an open dev tool, you can swap to these models really, really quickly. Whereas something like Claude Code, you're locked into that Anthropic way of doing things.
So this is maybe some of the proprietary IDE plugins that only can do one model lose a little bit of the value versus the ones that could connect to many models.
Yeah, you're locked into the performance of that one provider. And if that provider stops being the best, you can't move as quickly.
I also imagine there's a bit of a deterministic element in that when you're going out to Claude or ChatGPT or some kind of AI API like that, you actually don't know what the model's going to do. They can update it on you. Whereas if you're running in an open setting, okay, I'm choosing the model, I'm choosing the basement model, or I'm at least choosing this model running in this cloud. It's more deterministic in that way.
For a certain level of deterministic for AI, yes.
Right, yeah, exactly. Well, this is part of the idea that engineers in their heart, or love, you have an input and you have an output, and all of a sudden AI comes along and says, well, I'll give you a probabilistic stochastic output to the reasoning. How are you seeing folks struggle with that? And is there any bright spot? Like, I know there's a lot of challenges. I'd love to hear a story of the challenges of, I'm trying to do software development. I'm used to deterministic outputs. Now I have this non-deterministic element.
So we have a word for that in software engineering.
Okay.
Of when you put something in and you get an unexpected output out. We call it a bug.
That's great. That's great. Okay. So AI is a bug. You heard it here first on the AI Kubernetes Show. But it's serious. Okay. So you think of a non-deterministic output as like a bug.
If you are looking for a deterministic answer.
Okay.
So if you have, for example, say a chatbot that is looking to do, should I apply a credit for this account? That is a very deterministic process of, has the customer had an SLA breach? Very yes or no. Is the customer in contract? How much has the customer paid? We can work out what that credit should be. It's a very, very algorithmic, deterministic point of view. Whereas if you then put this into a chatbot that is now deciding, hey, because you said banana, 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 we're going to give you 100% credit. That's not very great.
Agreed. And so is the implication here that for deterministic needs, certainly like an SLA breach credit or SLA miss credit, is that a reason to say, I'm not even going to run an agent on that? This is a poor use case for an agent. If you needed deterministic output, just run good old deterministic code.
Yeah, I mean, AI isn't the answer to everything. And trying to find use cases for AI, you're just looking to try and get yourself hurt.
Is there, what comes to mind as the good use case for AI?
I think code generation,
Okay.
Actually. You kind of feel that code gen is an art. Every developer has their own style of creating code, and it's a very feel of the moment. You understand the problem and you solve it in your way. The code itself doesn't need to be handwritten. It can be generated as long as you're putting your flavor on how the generation happens.
Okay. This is an enhancement versus a delegation. This is a partnership.
100%, yeah. I think you've got vibe coding, which I found out is the word of 2025 now. you immediately think of one-shots. You kind of go, hey, build me Slack. You then go away, and a day later, you've got this perfect Slack application that's ready to go. That's what could be considered vibe coding. But the other option is that it's just your editor's autocomplete that used to do function names can now just do functions itself.
This is a great way to think about it in terms of it's helping you out. It is a partner in your process, and the code generation itself is this model where even if it's not 100%, it provides value to you.
Yeah. What we preach internally is that regardless of how the code is generated, you own it, and it is your responsibility. So that if code that you commit and you put into an MR goes out to production and has a bug in it, you're the one responsible for waking up at 2 a.m. when all of the pager duties are going off that has to wake up and fix it.
Yeah, it's not like you can't blame the LLM. That's your code. You write it, you ship it, or LLM writes it. You still need to own it.
It is your code. 100% your code.
It is your code to run. So what are the elements we've seen here in terms of what AI is good at and what it's not good at, or for that matter, the LLM type of AI in particular, is that if there's the more examples of it, the better it is. So if you're asking, the code gen to write some JavaScript or some Python, Ruby, it does that quite well. If you need some Erlang, it doesn't have as much instances of it. How do you think folks that are in some kind of these fringe use cases where they're trying to do something that hasn't been done a million times before, so the output from the LLMs is less helpful?
I think this comes back to that having your personal style on it. Because the LLMs have got a certain amount of inbuilt capability on generation and capability of what for one shots, right? But if you are looking at doing a single function, it's going to take a lot of the context from the code surrounding your new function that you're writing. So if you've got good software practices of good documentation, good function names, really short methods, the AI is going to follow your example.
This is a wonderful theme. I've heard a lot of conversations, setting the context. And of course, with AIs, LLMs, we often think of the context as this MCP is bloating my context. But in this case, it's literally, what is the code that I have written or lovingly crafted that is showing the LLM, here's how to do it. That is setting the context, whether it's for the security capabilities, stylistically, readability. You're setting a level, and that is not training, but it is better context that can generate better outputs.
Yeah, and it also goes into the review cycle as well, because you've got the traditional code review where you're asking someone else to review your code, but taking ownership of the code that the AI has generated means that before you submit it to someone else, you have reviewed it, you have validated that the generated code matches your own personal style, and you understand it. If it doesn't match that, you now have this great tool that you can go, hey, little robot, not quite like this. Please change it to my style that looks more like this.
Which I imagine can sometimes give you varying results depending on how complex your style is.
It comes down to still good coding practices.
Right.
If you went into an interview process and you go, hey, what's your coding style? I love methods that are a single file long and 2,000 lines. Are you going to hire that engineer?
No.
Or have you got the engineer that's going to go, you know what? I like methods that are quite long in name, maybe 5 lines long, do a single function really, really well, and I put a comment on top of what it's trying to do.
Now we're talking. Now I will say it depends. Maybe if you're trying to write some Perl, million one line, but anything else, I agree with you. So, this is not just this is like what you're saying. It's like your personal fingerprints. This is beyond just the corporate coding style guideline that you adhere to. It's saying this is something I'm proud of that I've put out.
You still own that code, and you now have had this tool that's generated you, say, 50 lines of code in 20 seconds. It would have taken you, what, maybe 5 minutes to generate that? You've now given yourself 4.5 minutes to really understand that code and iterate really quickly to pull it into your own personal style.
So this is the hypothesis and a bit of the debate in the space is that, great, I just saved this time, and cascading that or like fanning that out, you could say, well, I could save hours and days, so therefore I should be shipping code way faster, higher velocity. Is this something that you think the industry as a whole is realizing faster code velocity due to AI, or is there more to that story?
There's definitely more to that story. I think hopefully you're speaking to a lot of people today that are saying that their velocity has probably stayed about the same after these AI tools have come in place, is my feeling. I don't know.
So tell me about that. I didn't have AI. I was shipping code at this rate, or we'll call it deploying to production. I've added AI to my organization and nothing changed.
Nothing's changed, but you should hopefully be increasing the quality of the code that you're shipping to production.
Okay, interesting.
Because the value is still, well, the risk is on how often you deploy, and the risk is how often you then break it. Because if you could ship 100 times a minute, you probably say no, you're not going to ship to prod 100 times a minute.
I've seen some pretty crazy things in my day at some pretty crazy scale, but 100 times a minute does seem like you need to have an awful large org and a lot of like feature flags and some canary deploys. But let's just say that that's beyond the threshold of what we want to do. That's too much velocity. You're saying there's some upper threshold of velocity.
There is, because you're managing that risk of when a bug gets introduced into the platform. And you then have to have a human involved in recreating the bug, putting the bug report in, and then doing a fix. At that 100 deployments a minute, which of those 100 is the one that the bug has been introduced? No idea. So you're still rate limited by what you're willing to accept on a risk of deployment and bug fix point of view.
Okay, that's a great call. And depending, on the maturity of the organization, for some organizations, they might have like, oh, well, this is what my AI agent does. It is constantly monitoring and running my test suite and these kinds of things. And for somebody else, it doesn't look like that. So whatever your threshold is for that velocity, it's not like I have AI, I want to go and like pass my velocity threshold. But you're saying with the time that it frees me up, I can actually ship better quality, fewer bugs. That has its own cascading benefits.
You've got the time to come back and fix tech debt. You always hear this idea that you leave a code base or you leave a bit of code you've touched in a better state than you found it in. AI is freeing you up to do that for every single MR that you push out for review.
I don't often hear about AI increasing code quality. We often hear about the decreasing code quality, but I love the concept. I say everyone, the story I hear most often is this push for velocity, faster code, shipping more. But what if you maintain your velocity, but you have more time to bug fix, you have more time for architectural review? Those types of things can be the thing that you want to improve versus just going faster. Yeah. It
increases quality.
Right.
And it increases a better product that you're ready to ship out.
Is there I don't know, you might be like, not one that comes top of mind, but is there for instance of something recently where, maybe someone on the team, you yourself, a customer, because they were using AI gen tools or because they were able to have this additional time to go and track down the bug, they basically stopped the bug from ever shipping in the first place?
Yeah, so we have one Chart.js use case where we wanted to change the formatting of what the values on the x-axis were going to be of the chart.
Okay.
So it's a really one-line change. Obviously, it's going to take you half a day still to make this one-line change. AI can get you that one-line change done in 20 seconds. But you then take the rest of the day to go, hey, these tests failed. All of the tests in this file chain failed. Let's make these tests less brittle. So you then work with AI to change this 5 unit tests into 50 unit tests that are testing each little bit of this chart generation. So that next time you come and make a change, only one test fails, which is the one area that you are impacting. The engineer also then went in and put a little comment saying, hey, I've changed this value. It's been deprecated in version 2 of chart.js. We're now using chart version 4, so I've changed it. You then put it in the MR template that, hey, I was only doing this format change, but I've also added these notes in so that next time we come to it, you immediately have your own human context of what this is doing and why we're doing it this way.
I love that so much. And I know so many engineers that it always seems in the places I've worked in, the orgs I've been a part of, that the eng team is fighting for paying down tech debt, code quality. So this is an inadvertent recruiting. Engineers are like, I want to be in an org that does this, but also just phenomenal advice for mindset. I'm curious, really enjoyed this conversation. Folks that want to connect with you, they want to know more about Civo, they want to know more about some of the ideas you're sharing. Where can folks connect with you online or get more information?
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn. You're welcome to come and reach out. I'm sure my name will be on the subtitles or the bottom below the video for this. And also I'm on the Civo community Slack channel. So you're welcome to join there, sign up, and reach out there.
That's great. Dinesh, been great to have you on the show.
Thank you very much.
Created by the team at buoyant.io.